When building a new hospital, it's important that it's fitted with the most up-to-date equipment of its time, mental hospitals especially due to the nature and sensitivity of the patients. Naturally, what's considered the most up-to-date varies depending on when the hospital is built, which probably explains why in the 19th century, some thought it was a good idea for a hospital to be equipped with its own railway line. By the late 1890s, it was brought to the attention of the County Authority of East Sussex that the Haywards Health Asylum was starting to become overcrowded. To combat this, the county authority decided to have a new mental hospital built just outside the quiet village of Hellingly in 1897, with construction beginning in 1900. The hospital was located less than a mile away from Hellingly Railway Station, and so to help speed up construction, a shunting loop was built at the station with a short stretch of track connecting the hospital to the station to allow for wagons full of building supplies to be delivered quickly and easily to and from the site. It took until 1903 for the hospital to finally be completed, being named the East Sussex County Asylum, but rather than tear up the tracks, it was decided that they would remain as part of the hospital. Because the hospital relied on coal-burning boilers for electricity and heating, the line was used to transport deliveries of coal between the station and the hospital. A shunting loop was added along with a weighbridge and a workshop at the hospital site, and the entire 1¼ miles of track were electrified via an overhead wire, with the power for the line coming from the hospital itself. To run the line, a small 040 electric shunter was purchased. The exact origin of this little engine isn't really known, as it carried builder's plates from both Robert Blackwell and Company Limited and William Whiteley and Son Huddersfield. On top of that, it's also believed to have originally been imported from Germany, as many of its parts and controls were German in origin, with the hospital equipment also being installed by German firms. The only things we do know for certain is that the locomotive was fitted with handbrakes, electric lighting and headlamps, a warning bell, a 14-horsepower motor that used a gear ratio of 6.5 to 1, and was painted green. The hospital made an agreement with the London, Brighton South Coast Railway, who owned Hellingly Railway Station, to allow them to use the station's loop siding. Engines on the Cuckoo line would drop off wagons of coal and any other needed supplies in the loop siding, and the electric shunter would collect them and bring them up to the hospital. As the line from the station to the hospital was slightly uphill, with a maximum grade of 1 in 50, the little shunter could only carry 2 fully loaded wagons up to the hospital at a time. Going downhill towards the station, however, it was capable of handling 6 empty wagons with ease. Along the line were 2 small loop sidings, one originally used to load vans with produce from the local farms and the other near Park House. As well as the shunter, the line was also served by a small, 4-wheeled electric trolley with seating for 12 built by the Brush Engineering Company. A small wooden platform was built at Hellingly Station to allow patients and visitors to transfer from train to trolley, and from there the trolley would take the passengers to a bay platform connected to the hospital. The only other piece of rolling stock the hospital owned was a 10-ton, high-sided clinker wagon that they purchased from the LBSCR. Because of how infrequently it was used, the line was never fitted with automatic points or signalling. Instead, all points were manually operated, and when passing over the unprotected level crossings, a fireman or second man would run ahead of the train with a flag to stop traffic. Despite the lack of infrastructure, the railway operated quite fine for many years, with only 2 notable accidents being recorded. The first being the time a car collided with the shunter on the hospital grounds, and the second being when a wagon's brakes failed and it rolled all the way down to the station siding. In 1923, when the LBSCR became part of Southern Railways, the deal between the hospital and the railway was updated. By this point, the hospital, renamed the East Sussex Mental Hospital, was carrying less and less passengers, with the wooden platform at Hellingly Station having been shortened in 1922, and in 1931 so few passengers used the line that the hospital stopped running passenger services altogether, instead transporting patients and visitors between the hospital and station via road. The body of the passenger trolley was removed and repurposed as a pavilion on the hospital's sports grounds, while its wheels and frame were reused to build a 5-ton, low-sided wagon for internal transport of coal and coke. The hospital's passenger platform, meanwhile, was used as a coal stage, while the wooden transfer platform at the station was torn down. Plans to run ambulance trains up and down the line were put in place in 1939 when war broke out, and though Park House was used as a hospital by the Canadian Army, the road was used for transport of patients instead. After the war, the railway continued its duty of delivering coal and supplies to the hospital, and by the 1950s had become somewhat of a fascinating oddity for many railway enthusiasts. The Little Shunter was the oldest working electric locomotive in the country, and the nature of the line only added to its unique charm. Alas, charm isn't enough to keep a railway running, and by the late 50s the end was drawing near. With the newly formed NHS taking over Hellingly Hospital, it was decided that the old coal boilers would be replaced with oil-burning ones. Since the hospital was the one that had to maintain the railway line, without the need to move coal, it was simply no longer worth keeping. As such, by the end of March 1959, the railway ran its last coal delivery before closing. Some enthusiasts managed to arrange a few day trips along the line after its closure, borrowing a brake van from British Railways for the occasion. There was even talk of saving the line as a heritage railway, but the idea was quickly shut down due to Hellingly still being an active hospital. Work began removing the track and fittings in the 1960s, with the rest of the Cuckoo line following suit thanks to Beeching's axe in 1968. What became of the little electric locomotive is unknown, but it was likely scrapped. The hospital itself was eventually closed in 1994, and plans to develop the site into housing are underway. Meanwhile, the old Cuckoo line became a public footpath still in use to this day. The Hellingly Hospital Railway, then, was certainly a unique service to say the least. Whether you'd regard it as an up-to-date feature of the time or simply a leftover piece from its construction, I think we can all agree that it certainly had an odd charm of its own. Just don't expect to see another railway line be built through a hospital anytime soon. Subscribe for more.